So this is a video on how to use process to do a moderation analysis, and then take the output at the end of the process output, which gives you the numbers for plotting. And we'll use them in SPSS first to do the kind of plot that process says you can do, and then we'll take them into Excel to do a nicer looking figure. Okay, so the first thing we need is SPSS, and this is using the happiness data set that we've used in the tutes. So here's the data set that we've used in the tute, which is the happiness data set, happy data set. And we're just going to run the analysis that we used in the tutorial. So to do moderation, we go regression, and we need process by Hayes. If you haven't got that, just Google process and Hayes and you'll download it from the website. Follow the instructions. So our model is that we have happiness is the thing we're trying to explain. We think that difficulty predicts happiness, academic difficulty. So as things get harder, your happiness goes down, but it is moderated by confidence. That's our hypothesis. So we'll flick this to model number 1, which is what you use for moderation. And then for options, the crucial thing is data for plotting. Now we could center these or not. Really, for making the plots, it doesn't matter. So I'm just going to leave them uncentered for now. Okay, and just to make life simple, I'm going to cut that down to 2 decimal places. Okay, so we'll say yes to that and okay to that. Process runs and there's our data. Okay, so we're at the top of the matrix. We check that the DV is happy, IVX is academic for difficulty, and M, our moderator, is confidence. And if we look at this output, we see that the interaction term, R-squared increase due to interaction, P 0.00, so it's less than 0.01, I guess. Maybe we needed 3 decimal places for that. Anyway, it's significant and that's what matters. So we have a significant interaction. If we look at the conditional effects here, these are the simple slopes. Let's try saying that fast 3 times. We see that for the low level of confidence, so a score of 20 for confidence, we have an effect of minus 0.56. So the relationship between the IV and the DV is negative. IV is difficulty. As difficulty increases, the DV happiness goes down. That makes sense. This is for the people with low confidence. And we see that the p-value, we're getting 0.00, so it's significant. The score in the middle is always the mean for the moderator. We see there we've still got a negative association and it is still significant. But when we go to the highest level of confidence, so that's 1 standard deviation above the mean, so it's not the highest people by any means, but it's 1 standard deviation above the mean, so they're a bit confident, we get no significant association. And the effect there is minus 0.01. So our line is almost flat at that point. That's a slope. So for people who are, high confidence, there is no association between difficulty and happiness. Make it harder, they don't get unhappy. So that makes sense. So that tells us what's going on in the moderation, but how do we produce a plot to describe that? Glad you asked. We use this data here. Hayes says this is data for visualizing conditional effects of X on Y. Paste text below into SPSS syntax window and execute to produce plot. So what we do is double click on that so that we can copy it. Now you've got to go down all the way past the full stop. You copy all of that to include the word data. Right click, copy. Now within SPSS, I go File, New, Syntax, so that I can open a syntax window. I open that, there's my syntax window. I right click and paste. So I've just copied it straight out of process into syntax. Again, highlight the whole thing, use the play button to run that piece of syntax. Click run, and lo and behold, there's a plot. Now at the moment, it's not particularly useful because it's only showing dots. What we want is 3 lines. You can talk it into doing that. I have struggled to work out how, but I've got there, I think. All right, let's find out. So I've just clicked on I double clicked on the plot to open it up for editing. Okay, I just did that without thinking. But you should be comfortable with how to edit plots in SPSS. You always just double click. It opens 2 windows. It opens the chart editor window, and hopefully you also get the properties window. If you don't see this properties window, you're going to need it. I've just closed it. You can open it by clicking that icon there. Show properties window, and there it is, back up again. We need that because we want to go here to variables. Now, the list of things available here depends where you are in. As I click on different things become available. Most of the time I've got variables available. That's what I want. I click on variables. Okay, and it says you've got academic on the x-axis, happiness on the y-axis, confidence groups. In this data set they are. That's what the data that process gave us when we ran the syntax. It told SPSS pretend these people are groups. Now what we want to do is just fiddle some things here. So if you click on style and okay, there's a couple of different options here. So we're in color, because what I want to be able to do, let's see if it'll do it. The key thing is where it says marker, click on there. And what I want is not markers, which give me those dots, but lines. Click fit line. Notice that style has now changed to color instead of border color. For some reason, I was just clicking on random things there before. I tried this before, and if I didn't do that, it didn't work. So just click around a bit and play around with it. It's finicky. Anyway, if you get that to fit line, you're in business, because you click apply, and now we've got 3 lines. Now, it's not fantastic. You can edit that to make it pretty much APA, again, by clicking on different things and using this properties window to get there. But it's still, end of the day, doesn't give you a fantastic looking plot, but at least it shows you what the 3 simple slopes look like, which is handy. And one of the things I can do, if I choose that top line there, which is actually quite hard to see, okay, I had to click it a bunch of times before SPSS worked out, oh, you mean you want that? And I click on lines, I can change the color of it. So if I change the color there and make it red, that's much easier to see. So just rewind and see what I did there. But that's how you get them to look decent in SPSS. And then you just close that, close the chart editor, and the changes take effect in SPSS. That's one way to get the job done. The other way to turn these into a figure, if I go back to my process matrix output again and go back to where I first copied that data from, double click again. So I'm now in there, and what I want are these numbers. So I've highlighted these numbers. I again copy them. I'll take copy, and now I'll go across to Excel. So here I am in Excel, and I just pick a spot and paste those numbers. Now, sometimes Excel is smart, recognizes, oh, that's 3 columns of numbers, and puts them in 3 columns. Sometimes it doesn't, and it just kind of depends how you copied them, whether it does or not. And mine hasn't. You can tell it hasn't because I've got 3 numbers up here. So what that's saying is, if I spread that out, you can see it. It's just got all these numbers in 1 column. It didn't recognize that they were 3 columns of figures, which they are. Now, I can fix that. So what I want to do is take those numbers and split them into 3 columns. Excel doesn't recognize them as numbers at the moment. It thinks it's text. So I click Data, and I want this option here, Text to Columns. If I click Text to Columns there, I get this window. It's offering me a couple of options. Are they of a fixed width or are they delimited? I prefer to go delimited, which means there's some character of some sort in between each column. In this case, what I've got in between each column is a space, and I get to use that. So if I click the delimited, I click Next, and I choose space. Did you notice down there? It suddenly said, oh, do you mean like this? Yes, I do. And so you can see in the preview window that it's got the idea to put those into columns. So I say Next, and I say Finish, and there they are. The numbers have now moved into 3 separate columns instead of being side by side in 1 column. That's really important. Now, if you look back to SPSS, notice here under confidence I've got 20.49, 26.64, then 32.8, and those are the 3 levels in this column here. So this middle column is always the moderator. Okay, the first column is always the IV, and the third column is DV. So let's go back to Excel, and let's even type those in. That was the IV, that's our moderator, and that's our DV, just so we know what's what. That's important because they're actually in the wrong order for Excel, which is annoying. So we're going to have to move them around. Now this 20.49 on my moderator is the low level. Okay. This in the middle is the mean, which is my moderate level. And then these 32.8 guys down here are my high level. Okay. So first thing I want to do is I'm going to grab these guys, copy them, move over here and paste it. So notice I grabbed the 3 levels of the DV that correspond to low on the moderator. 20.49, 20.49, they're my low guys. So I put them there, they're low on the moderator. Now I want these scores, again, I'm going to, I use the right click, copy, paste. Those are the scores when you're moderate on the moderator. Moderate on the moderator, you know what I mean. And these 3 here, again, I'll do this so you can see it. Copy, paste, and they're high on the moderator. Okay, so these 3 scores here, high, are from my low level of the moderator, and they correspond to, this is the low score on the IV. Okay, this 1.88 is low on the IV. So again, I'm going to call that low. Notice that 1.88 is still there. and there. Here are my moderate people on the IV with a score, they had a score of 7.16. And these guys, 12.43, they are high on the IV. So this is low level of academic difficulty, moderate level of academic difficulty, high level of academic difficulty. And these are the happiness scores I predict for low, moderate, and high academic difficulty for people who are low on the moderator. So I want to copy those three from there, copy them, and I'm going to paste them right here alongside this. What I've basically done is restructure this table into this table. Low, moderate, and high on the moderator against low, moderate, and high on the IV. Okay? So I'll make that really clear. That's the IV, and this up here is my moderator, except it goes across 3 cells, so I'm going to merge those cells by doing that. Okay, you don't have to do that, that's just to help you see it. The crucial bit is that these numbers are in the right places. So what I'm going to do first is create a line graph based on this low level of the moderator. So I want just a really simple line graph. It's only going to have one line in it representing the low group. And here's how we do that. I've highlighted what level they are on the IV and their scores on the DV. And I go insert over here to where they are, insert line or area chart, and I just want a line chart. Okay, so most basic line graph. Click there, and there it is. It's only got one line in it, as I said. And that line, let's move that there, represents, in fact, I'm just going to scrunch it down a little bit so it fits on the screen. There we go. That line represents my low group because I only use their numbers. Now I need to add the others. So I'm going to right click in here and choose Select Data. Notice I could also have used, there's a symbol for it up there, but I like here. And this is where I get to add additional series to that chart. A series is a level of the moderator in this instance. So series 1 is my low people. At the moment it's called series 1. I would rather call it low. So I'm going to edit and say this is my low group. It's the line representing the low group on the moderator. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is add another series, which is to say the data for my next level on the moderator. At this time, I'm going to add the moderate guys in. So I click Add. What am I going to call them? I'm going to call them Moderate. So there's series name, Moderate. Series values is down here. So what numbers should Excel use for this line? It should use the numbers over here where it says moderate on the moderator. So I click this little thing here, and it allows me to select these cells in Excel as the values. Watch what happens when I click here. Bang, it's put the next line in. Okay, that's good. So I click OK. I've got the low, the moderate. Now I add a third one, high. Again, use this button here to select the numbers for my high group. There, click OK, and we're in. Okay, I now have one line each for my low, which is the blue, my moderate, which was the orange, and my high group, which was the grey. Now I just want to do a bit of editing. Now, first thing I'm going to do, see, I can move around in here. Whatever I highlight, I can edit. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is click on these little faint horizontal lines. Don't want them. I hit the delete button. They are gone. I'm also going to change the colors of these because I'm probably going to print this thing in black and white. So I can change the color and appearance of each line. So with that line highlighted, I can go up here and say Format and change the color of that line. Notice whatever I highlight, it's changing the color. So I'm going to make it black. Okay, and then I go to the second line, which I'm also going to make black, except now they look identical. Don't want that. If I click Shape Outline, I can go down here to dashes. And let's make this one dots. And then the third one, again, I'll make it black. And again, Shape Outline, down to dashes. I'm going to go this time not dots, but dashes. So solid line, dotted line, dashed line. Nice and easy to distinguish, even if it's printed in black and white. Now, what else do I want to do? I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and I can do things like change. If I go in Excel to Home, I can change it to our old favorite Times New Roman font. There, and I can make it 12 points to keep APA happy. Notice everything changed to that. I have barely any line for my X and Y axis. I need to change that. So I highlight the axis, and again, I'm going to go up here to Format, and I think if I click that line, yep, that worked. So that made it a black line. I'll do the same thing by highlighting the Y axis, click the black line. That worked. Okay, so that's all there. Now, the other thing I want is a legend so my reader knows what each line is. If I click the plus sign, I can add all sorts of things. In this case, I want a legend. You legend. The other thing I'm going to want is a label for my X and Y axis. So axis titles, I like the sound of that. I'm going to add those in. At the moment it's got nothing written there, so I'll double click on that and I'll type there confidence, because that's my moderator. Oh, I'd be wrong. I want the IV down there. I'm going to type academic difficulty. So the y-axis is academic, is your, the x-axis is the IV. Yep. Now here I am. I'm going to also change this one to happiness. Harder to get that one confused. Shift it across there a little bit, and that's really, really small. Go home. Go 12 points. Is that 12-point font? Okay, maybe it is. Okay, so I am now reasonably happy with that. I have a legend, which I'll just move up there a bit. Tells my reader what each line represents. Okay, it's going to be level of confidence. Okay. And that is now pretty much ready. Highlight that, right click, copy, and now I can go to word processor, paste that in, and I'm away. That figure now shows that for people who are high in confidence, who are the solid black line, it's flat. There's no relationship between academic difficulty and confidence and happiness. As academic difficulty increases, happiness doesn't change. For those who are moderate in confidence, the dotted line, their happiness drops a bit as difficulty increases. The dashed line are the people who are low in confidence, and as academic difficulty increases, their happiness decreases quite a bit. That's how you produce the figure for that, and it's the absolute best way to report simple slopes when you get a significant moderation. Okay, so that's how to run process, get the data for plotting, and use it either in SPSS or Excel. And I hope that helps.